Welcome back to Hospitality Folks. I'm your host, Alicia Dick Wahlberg. This week, our guest, Annemarie, moved from the Netherlands to Sweden for love and accidentally walked into a career in revenue management with zero experience. 26 years later, she's built one of Scandinavia's leading consultancies, runs one of Europe's biggest revenue events, and still believes the hospitality industry is the best in the world. Today, we're talking about what happens when you stop waiting until you're ready and just go for it. Because in this industry, the boldest move you can make is betting on yourself before anyone else does. I am so excited to have you on Hospitality Folks today. Could you give us an introduction with first, last name, where you're working, just to start with?
Okay, well, first name Annemarie, last name Gubanski. I have my Polish last name from my husband, who actually he's born in Poland, but he's very Swedish. My maiden name, well, if I pronounce it here, I'll be swearing, but my maiden name is Fokking. I am Dutch, but I've moved to Sweden 1st of November 2000. And that's also where I started working with revenue management. So I have like about, what is it? Almost 26 years of background.
So you are originally from the Netherlands. Could you walk me through a little bit about your experience moving over to Sweden? What brought you over?
Well, love as always. I met my my current husband in Mexico when I was on holiday and moved to Sweden, I think about 3 years later. Curiously enough, I mean, when I was 16, I always said that I would move to Sweden. I dragged my best friend over to holidays in Sweden because I always wanted to be here. I don't know. I think it was, well, first of all, ABBA, of course, and then Mats Wilander, the tennis player, was really good at tennis and good looking as well. So, okay, well, that's when I always thought, well, Sweden would be a thing. I moved, well, out of love, as you can say, but then in Holland, I'd never worked within the hotel industry. I worked in the textile industry it was a private company, always very, very, very cost driven. I mean, every pen, if you would just like throw it away in the dustbin, you could like find it on your desk the next day, and then just like you see that somebody scribbled with it, and it was not. So that is actually where I came from, and I actually accidentally happened to start working with the hotel industry when I moved.
I love that you knew at 16 you wanted to move to Sweden. And I was starting to laugh because I knew at 16 I wanted to move to Germany. And after meeting my husband in Detroit, of all places, after 2 years, I told him we're going.
Aha.
So when you got over to Sweden, how exactly did you step into the world of hotels and hospitality?
Well, accidentally. When I was still living in Holland, I studied Swedish. There was a girl from Radisson in my class. And she'd said, like, if you're looking for something in Sweden, Radisson is quite nice. And here's a link. And then I found a job opening in Gothenburg. We were planning to move to Stockholm, but my husband had started like his 80 chances. It's doctor's degree, you can say, with a practice in a city called Örebro. And Örebro is just like right in the middle from Gothenburg and Stockholm. So I thought, well, okay, I can also try to find a job in Gothenburg. And on this Radisson site, I found a job opening for assistant revenue manager. No idea what it was. And I needed to know systems such as Fidelio and what Radisson used at that moment as their CRS on queue. So I wrote a letter and I said, well, I have no idea about these systems or about revenue management for that matter. But I mean, my classmate in Holland, she says that now I can learn. It's quite easy. So, well, here I am. And then I was quite lucky because the woman who got this job, my letter, she's in Dutch. Her father is Dutch. So she has a very Dutch name. And she thought it was, well, quite funny. A girl saying, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I can do it anyway. So she wrote me back and said, well, I was actually looking for somebody that had more experience. But, well, I mean, if you are in Gothenburg, come by and I will grab a cup of coffee. And I said, well, okay, I can be in Gothenburg next week and I like my coffee black. So that's why I took the train to Gothenburg. We met and, well, I mean, I wasn't the best candidate, but I mean, we kind of liked each other. And, well, she was actually brave enough to try and hire me. So that's how it went.
That's a lovely story. And since then, you've been at multiple different, you went into, I believe, was it Scandic as well? And then you started your own path.
Yeah, I did. And it actually was from the time that I was working with at Scandic, or Scandic Hilton it was at that moment still. And I was like an area revenue manager. And at that moment, still revenue managers were just like placed on hotels. It wasn't centralized yet. It was our job to increase knowledge in revenue management, to look for systems, educate, and like, try to analyze into better strategies for every hotel within my area. And then I thought, this is really nice. But I mean, every time I went to a hotel, I was this girl from head office. I mean, if you've worked at a chain, I mean, you're always like a bit nervous, head office coming to visits. And I thought, well, it would be fantastic if I could just like meet people who also just like want me to be there. And also, I thought it was like, I found that revenue management is a very important role, but it was at that time maybe mainly for the chains. And I thought, let's just try and get this also implemented for independent hotels. And well, that's where it started, and it's evolved since then.
I love this analogy of you wanting them to be happy you're there. I completely understand. I know so many of my old coworkers who were terrified every time someone from headquarters came in, where I'm like, let's throw a party. I'm so happy they're here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you want to visit them, right? You might. I mean, it's nice to be in contact with everybody. So, but I
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely. And it's about working together. I loved working with the tech people because I knew when there was a problem, it didn't matter how dumb I sounded, they would still help me.
Yeah,
And same with the revenue. When something happened on a glitch or somewhere, then you need those contacts.
yeah, that's right.
So, could you maybe tell me a little bit more about your own adventures that you started to snowball into a huge success? Where did that all start from?
Don't know about the success, and there are more people who do what I do. I don't know. It mainly started from like, okay, what do I like doing, and let's just do that. It's always been a theme. So we like to work with nice people. We like to work with nice projects, and it's also just like, I think what I like about the company, we have just like nice people around us. It's like everybody working here is just like completely fantastic. Um, and I don't know if I had like a specific business idea. The business idea was that I wanted to help independent hotels with any kind of service that otherwise they would not be able to get. But also, what I like personally is educating. So I kind of got into a role of educating. I work with schools, and I organize events, and it's mainly what we do.
That's I love a good education. I am a lifetime learner and I can never absorb enough. And I feel like with revenue and hospitality specifically, there's so much someone can learn when they're not in that role.
Yeah, that's right. But, I find it also a bit challenging because, I mean, revenue management, it's not like, okay, do this and then something happens. For me, when I educate within marketing, it's easier because I know that, okay, do a Google ad or just like a campaign or meta search. And you know that if you do it right, you know what the outcome is. But for revenue management, it's like we can have a strategy for hotel A. It does completely nothing for hotel B or C, and that's what makes it complex. So I can generally talk about revenue management. I can tell them, okay, well, you can try and use this and this and this strategy, or this is the way we work. But it's never like a quick fix. Like, do this, and you know that it's going to be a success.
Is there one specific advice you have for someone who's just starting to learn anything about revenue management?
That was a good question. I think basically the people that are good at revenue management are the ones that really like it, and usually it's the ones that like numbers. Maybe what I can say in general, and that is the thing that I get most out of the students that I start talking to. They say always, I don't like numbers, or I don't understand mathematics that well. And I can tell you, I don't either. My two brothers are mathematicians. They are incredibly intelligent, but I did not get their genes. I like numbers. I can analyze data if I see it, but it's not like I also just need to think a lot about how to calculate kind of thing. So don't limit yourself because what we do is analyzing. Just like start understanding that the way we use data is very, very, very nice because we use data because to do something concrete with it. So embrace analytics, I'd say.
I think that's a beautiful way to dive into that aspect of really allowing yourself the grace of knowing, okay, I'm not an expert in numbers, but I can learn and I can try.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe that's the thing with everything. And sometimes I think, well, now I'm getting philosophical, but then now sometimes I feel that people just limit themselves. Like, I'm not good at drawing. Well, okay, if you tell that to yourself, well, you're never going to be good at drawing because you're never going to do it. So I think just like, well, in general, just don't limit yourself because you think it's difficult.
It's a skill and everyone has to learn. And whether you're starting your own businesses or you are going for a new promotion, revenue and numbers are always a good skill to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And it's actually, I mean, especially I think within the hotel industry, maybe any industry. But then, if you want to become something, you need to understand how to make your business profitable, whether it's your department or your own business or anything. That for the hotel industry, it very much sits within revenue management.
Absolutely. I feel like this also ties a bit to this imposter syndrome that I know a lot of women have, especially when it comes to leadership roles. Have you also seen similar experiences with women or imposter syndrome?
Well, I'm learning something. What's an imposter syndrome?
It's when you are, let's say you just got promoted, but you feel like you don't have the skills or you don't belong there. So you feel like an imposter.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think in general, men are much better at that. I mean, if you get a curriculum vitae from a guy that applies for a job, you know that if he says like, okay, my French is business level, his French is kind of good. So they're much better than women in just like, well, showing off, I think, and that's we might have against us. On the other hand, I mean, I think also that women, we try harder usually. I don't know if I'm that much into difference between men and women. Yeah, there are many differences between men and women, but then, on the other hand, if I would have been a man, the business would have been the same, I think. So I don't know if you can say that men and women are so much better or not at something, but yeah, we handle the weight differently. We women, we can be just like much more modest. And then I think, yeah, okay, then you have an imposter syndrome, or maybe also just like something that can be very positive for us. Like, I mean, a woman will never, if you have an imposter syndrome, let me put it that way, you try harder. It's not like, okay, well,
Yeah, I also feel like it's maybe a personality thing. When you were saying about the drawing aspect, I remember my brother when he was little being so mad that he could not draw as well as me. I was like, dude, you're 4 years younger. Of course not. But that's been kind of his mentality. I feel like he himself, he needs to be very good right away, where I'm just like, let's just try it.
yeah.
Let's go for it. What could happen?
That's right. That's right. That's right. I can tell you, me being the third child with two very intelligent brothers, I learned the hard way. I'm never going to be as good as them.
It's always good when you're not the smartest in the room as well.
No,
So,
that's right. That's right.
so if a company was interested more in what it looks like to work with you and your team, what would you tell them?
I think what makes us, well, I wouldn't say different because there are other consultants that have the same way of working, but we like to be very close to our customers. We call them our babies, our children. And that just comes from, let's put it this way. I think we are the kind of consultancy that works very close to all departments. When we do it the best way, for us, it's like, okay, when I call and I say, hi, I'm Annemarie, I don't have to just like say I'm working for Taktikon and we help you with this and this and that. It's like a colleague calling. And I think a lot of companies or consultancies, what they do is that they implement their system, they work at their office, they do the things they do. And then when a hotel says, well, I don't need your services anymore, it's like, they just like take away everything that's there. We don't. We work always in the hotel's systems themselves. We set it up and we implement a revenue management or a digital marketing or sales strategy for that matter, so that when we leave, when they want to try it themselves, they have something to go on. So I think that might make us different.
I love this analogy of long term partnership. I think it goes back to how you described how you wanted to have the location see you when you're working at the headquarters, and now how you are as a partner to work with.
So when I was talking, I was actually thinking, yeah, I think that's where it comes from because that's the way we've always implemented revenue management. we've been very close to our revenue managers. We've been very close to our hotels, and that came just like very natural.
Yeah. And especially in an industry like hospitality, hospitality is people, usually.
Yeah, that's it.
The people in hospitality want to be with other people.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think with us, it's like, well, it's both with me and the co-owner of the company, Katarina. We just love to help our customers, and it sounds like a very bad sales pitch, but it really comes from this. I can tell you a little story. I think when pandemic hit us, and I think that everybody recalls that day when everything just like kind of stopped. Just very spontaneously, Katarina called all the hotels, and it's independent hotels, it's family-run hotels, it's sometimes hotels that have been within the family for many, many, many years. And then all of a sudden it goes down, and it's their own private money that you're talking about. And she just said, like, okay, you know what? Give it a try. We are there from all the way from beginning to the end. Just let us know what it is that you need from us. Pity parties, both of her and me, we hope that we would get the question like, okay, can you help us with doing breakfast, because that's kind of nice doing, but then nobody asked us. And that's also the way. I mean, we kept all our customers, we keep all our employees, and it didn't come out of a commercial strategy. It's just like came out of, yeah, we just love working with these kind of customers, and they are part of us.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's a much nicer way of thinking of consultancy work. It's a partnership.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. But it's boring if you don't do it that way.
Yes, yes, 100% agree there. You also are quite involved with startups and student work. And I know you have a couple things coming up in Amsterdam and Stockholm. What exactly do you do there?
I've been organizing events since 2008. Started in Stockholm, where actually we still thought that revenue managers still shouldn't talk to each other. As a matter of fact, it came out of me leaving Scandic and Hilton and started working for a little company. And then I found out, like, overnight, my colleagues became my competitors, and I had no one to talk to. Within Scandic, and we could just like always, like, we were driving projects and so on. We did it together, and here I was on my own. So I thought I need to meet people. So that's where I started to organize seminars. In 2014, I started organizing events, and right now it's actually evolved into something quite unique. It started also in pandemic, where everything just like new started, and it's Global Revenue Forum, it's called. So what we do is we have an event at 2 or 3 cities at the same time, and we stream most important things to and from each other. So keynote speakers usually. So when in London, for instance, in January, a keynote speaker enters the scene. He or she is like seen live also in Stockholm and Milan, where we have simultaneous events. I think it started with my partner and colleague in Northfield in London calling me and said, well, okay, let's do this hybrid thing. I mean, I don't think that this pandemic is going to last that long, so let's do it next year. Yeah, and that's like resulted in us having to postpone it a few times. Since last year, I also have that kind of event in Amsterdam. So I am the one organizing in Stockholm in January and in Amsterdam in June. And yes, I mean, your question came from about students and startups. I like having startup companies there, such as maybe a startup company called Volksnest could be quite nice to have there. And I like to introduce our participants to these kind of new cool companies. Startups within the event have been companies such as Muse and Lighthouse, then called OTA Insight, and we have more Book Boost. So I mean, it can become quite good, and for me, it's also a very nice way in introducing hoteliers to hotels to cool new companies. Students, I always have at my event helping us out, but mostly, I mean, they don't have to do that much. They can just like get inspired. So I like having a lot of students there.
I love the idea of allowing a space for students just to absorb and figure out what calls for them. And I have to say, so when I was introduced to Revenue Forum, the person who introduced me said, don't worry, it's not just about money. It's not about just revenue. There's so much more.
Aha, good. Thank the person whoever it was. Yeah, because I mean, the name Global Revenue Forum is a bit misleading because people think it's only about revenue management. But as we were also just like in the beginning of the interview saying, like, you need to have revenue management as a background in order to become better as a manager. But I think also that's also why we talk about like not only revenue management, but digital marketing, sales, leadership, because they are all a part of what revenue management is.
Yes, 100%. And it doesn't matter if you're in hotels or if you are running a car rental locations, you need to have that information.
Quite right. Totally.
Now, on a side note, if you're not a student and you're not a startup, what would someone expect to get from the Revenue Forum if they were to attend?
I hope a lot of inspiration. The thought leadership part of the event is key. I try to find speakers that can say something that isn't obvious, can be a mind mind opener. Is that a good word? So learning new things is one of the things. I think another thing is also just to meet other people within the industry, and also maybe just like those who supply services and technology to the hotel industry. Even if you're not interested in buying a system at that moment, or just like having buying a new service, it's always nice to meet these kinds of people to see where is the industry heading, because the technology that's being just like developed is just like very much the technology of the future. So I think, no, hope it
Absolutely.
answers the question.
So anyone looking to learn and connect and is in the world of hospitality, go to event.
Well, you say it so much better than I do. Yeah, that's right.
Lovely. As we wrap up here, if you have one message that you could give to someone coming into the hospitality industry, a message of hope or passion or inspiration, what would that message be for them?
I think the hospitality industry is just like the best industry ever. Look at me, the way I came into it. I mean, there's hardly an industry that thinks that, okay, there's a girl who does not speak Swedish that well yet, and she doesn't know anything about revenue management, but let's just like hire her. That's completely the hospitality industry. And I think it all comes from just like loving to be with people, as your point was previously. And what is nice about the hotel industry, I think, is that it's a broad spectrum of jobs that it offers. And it's just, I don't know, I find it one of the most fantastic industries to be in, actually, because, well, it's all about people and people management.
Thank you so much for joining Hospitality Folks. If anyone is interested in contacting you, where would be the best place for them to do that?
Well, I think everything just like goes to me. Just like go to the website taktikon.com, and you'll find ways.
We'll have the links in the description
Okay,
to make
thank
it
you.
easier.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's Hospitality Folks. If today's conversation resonated with you, send this one to a colleague who's been waiting to feel ready before they make their next move. Annemarie will also be hosting the Global Revenue Forum in Amsterdam on June 4th, a full-day event bringing together hoteliers, commercial leaders, technology experts to discuss the future of hospitality, leadership, AI, revenue strategy, and commercial innovation. If you would like to join the conversation in Amsterdam, you can find more information and tickets at globalrevenueforum.com/Amsterdam-2026. You can find all the links in the description. See you next week.